Okay, so races. So I know we covered this kind of a lot in our overview, but we're going to go back through this, and then technically we're going to have races again where we really deep dive into them even more. So that there might be some repeat here, but races, I mean, this is what you're playing, this is what you're all about. I mean, the gear, the housing, the cities, the nodes, everything reflects your race. And that's huge. So, anyway, so I guess races. Take it away, Missy.
Yeah. So Verra is a world with rich and diverse cultures. Much of its important history has been dominated by the major races: humans of the coast and plains, orcs within the hills and the marshes, elves in the forest and the riverlands, and the esteemed dwarves of the mountains. The major races have held dominance through countless wars and skirmishes between the lesser races of Verra. Decades may pass between these flare-ups of violence. There are many minor races on Verra. Some of the minor races exist in makeshift villages or tribes, if you will. Some of the major villages among the minor races are comprised primarily of the giants, less reputable sects of humans, gnomes, and halflings. The halflings are not halflings in a traditional sense, but actually half-bloods of different races. Wandering the darker places in the world lie truly sinister abominations of creation. The great churches of civilization often dispatch heroes of the state to eliminate these threats to mortals. There currently exist 4 great nations on Verra. This is 25 years roughly before the fall: the Alien Empire, Pyrion Kingdom, the Kaivek Protectorate, and the nation of the Dunsenkal. There was not always only 4 great nations. Long ago, the races were more divided into many nations and city-states. In the 7,000 years of recorded history, wars upon wars were fought, some for land, others for resources, many for beliefs. Royal houses stood and fell over the years, some now long bereft of lordship. Many city-states exist in Verra, some self-governed bastions of democracy and republics alike. Others are vassal states at the behest of their benefactors.
Well, there you go.
Well, there you go.
I
So
guess.
those halflings.
Yep.
So they seem to be the half-bloods of different races.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think that like the Underrealm and Tolvar, like I said, that's like I said, we'll read about that again. Is they're the result of. Excuse me.
Wake
Excuse me
up!
here. Yeah,
Wakey,
wake up.
wakey, wakey.
I took one a little bit, so yeah.
Did you? Just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it is 2 a.m. in the morning here,
Found
so.
that like a shooter.
Oh, it'll
You
be
gotta
good.
shooter that stuff.
Well, I don't want all of it because then I'd be up until like 6 in the morning. But yeah.
Nah, probably not.
Let's see here. So yeah, so like the halflings and like that, like I said, the Tolvar pretty much is you're gonna be mutts. Like you're gonna be very your own looking thing. So it'll be different to see what people choose. And I was thinking about this. So your race, like talking about alts and all this stuff. I went back because I was curious about this. To kind of step away from this is, I was like, okay, alts. How is alts gonna play in this game?
You're
I
so
mean,
concerned with alts and you haven't even played your main character yet.
well, no, because I mean, think about it. Like, you have 9 races, and each one has their own unique everything. It's not like World of Warcraft where the only uniqueness you have to your for your race is what spec, what class you're playing, right? Um, but but nothing really changes from that. That for like your dress looks like the same dress on your blood elf or your void elf as it does your human female or whatever, right? There's really no difference there. This one, uh, depending on what human you're doing, you pretty much call them humans, but the Kalar is going to be these kind of fancy, English or English European looking humans while the Valoon are going to be like your Middle Eastern, you know, like in the desert, like economy people, you know, darker skin versus lighter skin, you know, just because one gets sun and the other one doesn't get sun. That's why people in like Scotland are pure white. They're like ghosts compared to like a Middle Eastern, which is you always got sun, right? So I mean, just having those two things, so going back to my point here, so I don't get all wordy here, is the thing is though is I don't know, and it's gonna suck because these races are gonna, you almost kind of have to really think about it. Like even you were thinking about it earlier, like I don't know if I want to be an elf.
Well,
Like,
I'm not going to be a dwarf, and I'm not going to be an orc. So
yeah,
it's just. But the elves are of the forest, though, so I'll probably still go elven.
yeah. I mean, it's, it just depends on, but like that's what's crazy is you're gonna, and I hope we get like a closet system. I really hope that Steven, you listening? I hope that you guys put in a glamour / transmog closet system like World of Warcraft, where if you get a piece, it just goes in there so you can dispose of the gear or sell it or whatever, but that look stays in there. Even if it's not the exact same thing, but something just so we're not having to hold all of our stuff and worrying about storage like Final Fantasy. That is one of the things that WoW definitely has over Final Fantasy is the closet system, where you get a piece.
Unless you might have an unlimited closet, right? Where
Well,
you could keep pieces.
Well, okay, so you could, but times that by 10,000. That's
Yeah, but I'm not sure that this game is going to have that many different outfits.
I mean, you're seeing what they are showing you right now, which is very basic, but there is no in-game shown. There's even no middle game shown. Like, all they're showing us is the very basic stuff. I think I've seen the same armor on all their characters and all the developer things for the last, like...
Well, we know how many sets have been coming out since 17, 18?
It's been the same set, practically.
Right? So there's one per month. So there's 12. So then you've got like 50 looks by the time this game launches.
Right.
Right? So, but the fact that also that these pieces look different on every different race may mean that you don't have a ton of, like World of Warcraft has way too many outfits because they're all the same, only different sets of drab colors.
Right.
Where I find Final Fantasy tends to have less, but they look better, which is a better thing.
A lot of stuff.
And you can color them the color you want them to be.
Right. But I guess to complete my thought on there is like people are gonna be sitting there for a while looking at what do I want to play, because if it takes and who's to say this doesn't change, but right now Steve said that 45 days to get to max level, playing 6 to 8 hours a day. So I don't know about you, Missy, but I might be able to do 6 to 8 hours during like the weekends.
A week.
So, I mean, the way that you could play this game, it could take you like 90 days to get to max level. So, we'll definitely see. We will definitely see. But anyways, I'm going to shut up, and I think we were on Ayla.
We're starting Ayla.
Humans.
Yeah. The Ayla humans are split into two races, the Kalar and the Valoon. The Aylan Empire is the most recent successor of the once great house of Lineth. For over 1,000 years, the house of Lineth, or Lineth, ruleth.
Lenneth
They
ruleth
over.
over the Aelith, the
And I
Golden Age.
heard myself say it before I did that, and I still almost said it. House of Lyneth ruleth over the Aela. A golden age
That's good.
endured for most of their reign. Don't get me started. It was only during the dawn of
Yes.
the last century before the fall, during the Great War of the Undying, that the house fell. With no suitable heir to the Lyneth throne, the country fell into chaos. What arose is the fragile republic we see today, overseen by the emperor elected through the Council of the Five who governed the greatest cities of the empire. The Alien Empire is by far the largest nation in all of Verra, with over 8 million souls among its inhabitants. Aliens also represent the single largest population on Verra. Their borders touch upon every other nation, and with their interests of expansion on the seas of Verra, they are able to deploy their widely feared armies to any shore. The Empire uses this fear to bully many city-states, bending them to their will. Those who deny the will of the Empire often find themselves at the end of a sword.
So I think, because I know you're talking about like Alien Empire, I think it's,
Yeah.
and you actually,
Alien.
I think you actually said it correctly. Like when you read it past it, Aelin. Yeah, I think it's Aelin.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways.
But there was, they're aliens,
Yeah.
but they were alien.
Alien.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alien.
Yeah.
Overpronounce it. Makes it sound better.
Alien. Well, I keep thinking it's so close to Alien.
Yeah.
Which is funny. There must be a reason for that. There's always a reason for names. So Doran Grayshore. Hundreds of years before the first Harbinger appeared in the barren sky, under the rule of King Fentis Lyneth VIII, there lived a great alien explorer named Doran Grayshore. Doran sailed the first ships to the shores of Oranthia, where he established one of the wealthiest guilds the Ten Seas had ever seen, the Grayshore Company. Their motto, to this day, still holds true. The sails of diplomacy are driven by the winds of trade within the seas of opportunity.
Yep.
So they're the pirates, it sounds like.
What was
They're seafarers.
well, what was our real life company that did that? It was the British one. Well, they actually started practically the India
India? Oh, yeah.
Trading Company or whatever.
I know we have the Hudson's Bay was our huge one.
Yeah.
The Hudson Bay Trading Company, which started out with, raccoon pelts and things here.
No, yeah. That's why Canada was started, was pelts.
Yup. All sorts of pelts.
All right, the Dwarves.
Oh. I was trying to figure out what that.
The East India Trading Company.
East India, because I was going to say I know there was something before the India, and I'm like, yeah, East India Trading Company. That's it.
Yeah, that was the big British one, but it was like a company that wasn't British, but the British still like controlled it. Yeah.
Yeah, because they controlled pretty much all of India at one point.
And I do like how in this, quickly, that Durner definitely is very, the Dunir is very close to Durin from Lord of the Rings.
Durin.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Dunir and the Nikua. So the Dunsinkel Dwarves. Deep in the mountains of Verra, legend tells of a forge created by the gods, from whence all dwarves are originated. Fabled to be the first created of the major races, the dwarves are said to have arrived on the continents with ships made of stone and steel. Dwarven smiths and craftsmen are found far and wide across Verra. The center of the Dwarven race is the nation of Dunsincal, found deep in the northern mountains. Dwarven society tends to be heavily matriarchal, and their clans existing under the oftentimes eldest matriarch. Dwarves are closely connected to one another by alliances forged between family guilds. The dwarven child is marked at a young age with his or her guild's sigil. Some dwarves banished from Dunsincal or having chosen to walk a path alone will often have their sigils burned from their skin. Pretty brutal.
Right.
The Dunsincal nation, deep within the mountains of Verra, exists the oldest nation in the world. The Dunsincal have been known as many names over the ages, but only one name has graced the highest mountain within which their capital has stood since the beginning of recorded history, Dun. The dwarves of the Dunsincal rule through a council of guilds. A royal family is chosen once every 200 years by this council to rule. Currently, the right to rule falls on the shoulders of King Grimley. It has been nearly 400 years since a king has led the Dunsincal. Traditionally, this rule falls to the matriarchs of the family. Expeditions are often sent into the Underrealm from Dun, and there, many believe, lies the source of secrets among the dwarves and their success with mastering artisanship. Untold magic lies deep within Verra, its source not known to many. Dunsincal has long benefited from this source, though. It has fueled the expansion of the dwarven kingdoms throughout the northern mountains.
I wonder if that magic is untold magic is actually essence.
Who knows? Possible.
Right.
No one never knows. So their history. The Dunheim History. During the great calamity that befell Verra, the inhabitants of Dunheim elected to remain in their mountain keep. This didn't work out well for them. In the wake of the destruction, many artifacts and treasures were left behind. So an excerpt from Dilla's diary. I was a child when they first appeared in the night sky. At first there were 3 distinct lights. Not quite the brightest in the sky, but they were bright enough. My mother told me that they were a sign from the gods, that the world was about to change. She had a sense for these types of things. A long line of women in my mother's family were oracles. Written on one of the many tablets in the great halls of King Grimley is the story of my great-grandmother, the royal court's regent oracle, and how she foretold the rise of the Undying during the Great War. As the days grew to months and months into years, the lights in the night sky grew in number. The priests in the temples began to refer to the lights as harbingers. Upon my graduation from the Master Stonecutters University, the lights numbered 16. Each passing month, the lights grew in brightness and size. It didn't take long for things to change in Dunheim. Families that I had grown up with began to move away from the city in the heart of the mountain. Travelers became less common, and temple services were filled every day with new converts seeking answers about the harbingers and what they meant. My mother wanted to leave the city as well, but my father wouldn't hear it. His auction house is what kept food on the table, and my brothers were both in the council guard. There was no way my father was going to be seen leaving the mountain. Honor and respect meant more than life itself, and my father had great pride in my brothers. Despite my mother's persistence to leave the city, we stayed. So there's a lot more to that story, but
Oh yeah. Now the one thing that did catch my eye though was the very first paragraph at the end, foretold the rise of the Undying during the Great War. So it sounds like there's going to be undead in this game. So
zombies for me to kill?
probably. So it should be pretty interesting on that. The Orcs.
The Orcs.
I
The
thought there was-
Kaivek Orcs.
Yeah.
Split into 2 races, Renkai and Vek. The Kaivek have always adhered to a strict code of tribal loyalty. Roughly 13 centuries before the fall, a leader named Rankal united the clans into a nation called the Kaivek Protectorate. Cal taught that all orcs answer to the protection of the divine order. This teaching expressed the belief that it was the will of the gods that all orc kind should have superiority over the nations of Verra, for it was only through the unity of the clans that the people of Verra would be led to enlightenment. It was the teachings of Cal that led the Kaivek to pursue campaigns of conquest across the lands of Verra. Where the orcs were once nomadic and divided before Cal, through his leadership they became a powerful nation united in conquest. Trophies of each city conquered is found in the capital city of Ren. Just before the fall, the Kaivek Protectorate have adopted a policy of peaceful coexistence with their neighbors. Having endured centuries of conflict, leaders rose among them, echoing the teachings of peace. These recent reformations have once again begun to lead to a fracturing of the Protectorate. Some unrest among the clans have called for a culling of those who are unworthy of the protection from the divine order. Culling is never good.
Nope. All right, the
So
elves.
which is probably going to be mine. So the Pyrion or Pyrion elves. For over 4,000 years, the Pyrion royal family of Eredol has endured. The kingdom has seen its share of wars. The kingdom's borders encompass the great forest of Aranthia. The capital of Amera is among the oldest and most beautiful cities in the world. Its royal families can trace their lines back to the days of the Dark Fires. The Pyrion universities of magic and martial studies are unparalleled in the lands of Verra. Many of the citizens of the kingdom venture out into the lands of Verra, wishing to spread their knowledge of art and science to their fellow barons. These ventures are often subsidized by the royal households of Pyria for hopes that will foster a better relationship with their human neighbors. Once a close ally of Ayla and the House of Lineth, the Pyrian kingdom and Alien Empire ended one of the bloodiest wars in Verran history. 80 years have passed since the last bloodshed, and although tensions have subsided among the citizens of the two nations, there remains a heightened level of distrust among the Empire's new rulers and the royal family of Pyria. The Elven Race is generally a secretive one and exists within the Pyrian kingdom. Primarily a patriarchal society, elves tend to keep within the natural borders of their forests. It has only been over the past millennia that the Riverlands have begun to see colonies of elves exist. Elven scholars, dignitaries, and pioneers can often be found in many of the human cities, though their presence is rarely seen in sites other than archaeological, academic, or diplomatic. Rumors do abound throughout the darker circles of Verra that there lies a particular lineage of elves that exist within the underrealm of Verra.
Well, there you go. Maybe you'll be a Tolvar.
No, because I could end up really sketchy looking.
Hey, you never know. People see.
Yeah, they're not cute. The Tolvar are not cute.
Well, we haven't really seen. Well, we've seen shadows of Tolvar, but we've never seen truly what they look like. So.
Yeah, they're not.
But
they're
knowing
not cute.
you want your cute, good-looking ones. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Over.
Well, because I have pretty dresses to put on them. I don't want them to be all bleh. Because then if they're bleh, my pretty outfits are going to turn bleh because they follow the style of whatever their race is.
Yeah.
And if they're
who knows?
then they're going to have ugly. They're going to turn my dresses ugly.
We gonna see.